Okay, so let's get specific here. Let's get right to the heart of looping, which starts with the process I just mentioned called deflection. Now, essentially what deflection does is it acts as your transition from the main body of your script, which ends right here after you've asked for the order for the first time, and it takes you to the beginning of looping, which starts right here, which is after your prospect gives you that first objection. So this little sliver here, this represents that first objection, which isn't going to be a hard no typically, right? It'll be one of those stalls or smoke screens we get when someone falls into one of these following three categories. One, they're not 100% certain about either one or two or even perhaps three of the 10s, right? Number two, they have a very high action threshold, which needs to be lowered before they take action. Or three, they're in complete denial of their pain, so they feel no urgency to buy. Essentially, they're comfortably numb in their own pain, so there's no reason they need to take action right now to get out of that pain. So they give you a stall objection, like, let me think about it, or let me call you back, which isn't real. You see, 90+% of the time, that first objection right out of the gate is nothing more than a person's knee-jerk reaction to stall. It's not their real objection. That'll come out later, if there actually is a real objection, when you're a bit further down the straight line and gotten him to a point where he's feeling absolutely certain about all three of the 10s. When you've got him there to a 10, 10, 10, that's when his real objection will finally come out. Prior to that, it's more a game of cat and mouse, with you answering objection X, to which he then switches it to Y. So then you answer Y, to which he then switches it to Z, right? So then you answer Z, and he goes back to W, and on it goes. And you're getting basically nowhere other than falling out of rapport with the prospect eventually, and hence not closing the sale. So when you ask for the order for the first time, and he says, sounds good, let me talk to my wife, or I need to talk to my partner, or let me think about it overnight, or call you back, or do some research on it, what his actual words are don't really matter that much. In fact, the objection I respect most at this point, you know what it is, for better or worse? It's, I can't afford it. You know why? Because it's real. It means something. I mean, tell me you can't afford it, and I'll respect that, and it'll come through in my tone. I'll give you a respectful tone. And then I'll show you why you actually can afford it. Or I'll figure out a program that allows you to afford it. My point is that my tonal attitude, my demeanor is, yeah, I get that. I totally understand you can't afford it. I've been there before, that position myself. Now, of course, it would have been better if I had qualified that guy out during prospecting, because I don't want to be wasting my time pitching unqualified people. But sometimes, no matter how hard you try, they do slip through the cracks into the pipeline. There's nothing you can do about that. But most of the time, when someone who you've already qualified suddenly says they can't afford your product, what they're really saying to you is that money is tight right now, and that the purchase will be a bit of a stretch for them. They're not actually flat broke all of a sudden, understand? It's essentially that same all-powerful equation I've spoken about many times, which is energy in, benefits out. And money, of course, represents stored energy. And since it's in relative short supply for this person right now, they need to be that much more certain about all the benefits before they actually say yes, okay? Now, the way we do this, the way we actually get them to that point when money is tight, is by simply moving them down the straight line and building more and more certainty for all the three 10s. And, of course, we lower their action threshold and add on any pain if it's necessary. Now, I don't want to jump ahead here, so let me backtrack for a second and take you through the process of deflection step by step. And just remember that what deflection allows you to do, essentially, is avoid getting caught up in a game of cat and mouse with your prospects' stalls by giving them too much credence. Instead, we deflect their initial objection as opposed to answering it head on, which allows us to bypass all that crap and get right to the heart of the matter, which is building absolute certainty for the three 10s. And of course, the key to success with all this is that you need to be able to get to this spot without getting under their skin and annoying them. In other words, if you deflect an objection and they start getting annoyed at you because they think you're being evasive, then you've missed the point of this completely. In fact, that's why it's absolutely critically important when we go through this section to be careful that you're paying attention to my tonality so you can see how it helps me carry the day. In other words, if I'm trying to deflect an objection and I use the wrong tonality, it will cause me to instantly break rapport with my client, go off the straight line, off into Pluto, and get them angry with me. However, if I use the right tonality, so they think that I really care, and by the way, I really do care, so they sense it themselves, and they say, wow, you know, I guess this guy really has my best interest at heart, just by my tonality, right? So when I deflect, and I say to them, you know, let me ask you a question. Does the idea make sense to you? Do you like the idea? Not does the idea make sense to you? You do that, and they will run away. So again, be very, very aware how my tonality allows me to deflect that initial objection and stay in lockstep rapport with the client, as opposed to falling out of rapport with the client and, of course, stopping me from closing the sale.